Hello and welcome back to another edition of IAFC TV. This is day 3 of our coverage, and this is a big one. We've got complete coverage of Thursday's general session, exclusive interviews with the Fire Chiefs of the Year, and this year's recipient of the IAFC Ben Franklin Award of Valor. Let's begin with highlights from this year's incredible general session.
Good morning and welcome to Atlanta and to Fire Rescue International 2019. It is a privilege to have you here for the largest annual gathering of fire and emergency service leaders in the world.
We're certainly honored to once again recognize the Fire Chiefs of the Year. Please join me in welcoming and congratulating Chief John Morrison from the Vienna Volunteer Fire Department. Chief. A consummate professional with simple values that have proven to make a significant difference, Chief Clack embodies what it means to be the career Fire Chief of the Year. Please join me in welcoming and congratulating Chief James Clack.
In the midst of a perilous situation, you responded with remarkable bravery and leadership. It is a great honor to present you with the 2019 IAFC Ben Franklin Award for Valor, sponsored by Motorola Solutions. Let's give another round of applause to Chief Hawks for his life-saving.
Please stand as we remember those who have fallen in the line of duty. This past year was a very good year for the IFC. Some of the highlights include to continue to diversify our organization to be more reflective of the community we serve. We published the new Chiefs Guide, the Lavender Ribbon Report that addresses firefighter cancer in the fire service. We published the Wildfire Guide for Fire Chiefs. We launched the Wildfire Status Dashboard, which shows U.S. wildfires and pertinent details at a glance. And continuing the successful Saudi Aramco program, which embeds foreign firefighters in busy U.S. departments to learn how the American Fire Service rolls. But most of all, our greatest accomplishment is being there for each other. As members of the IFC, we are never alone.
Bear true allegiance to the goals and purposes of the International Association of Fire Chiefs. I will perform these duties and responsibilities of my office to the best of my ability, so help me God. Congratulations. You are challenged to lead the association to a new level and higher level of skill and ability. Your leadership, foresight, and loyalty.
I have complete confidence that we will come through the issues that confront us because of the caliber of our chiefs on our board of directors and the capabilities of our IAFC staff.
FRI always puts on a great general session, and one of the highlights of that session is always the IAFC Ben Franklin Award for Valor. Here's that exclusive interview with Chief David Hawks. We are joined with a very special guest. We have Chief David Hawks with us. He is the Cal Fire Butte Unit Chief, and now you have a new title. You're the IAFC Ben Franklin Award for Valor winner. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. I feel so honored to be recognized by the IAFC and by my director and fire chief, Tom Porter, by the Western Fire Chiefs, and I really feel I'm here representing the men and women of CAL FIRE who have given so much over the last many years. I mean, but in particular the last few years where we've had some just horrendous fire seasons and fires in California.
You know, take us back to that incident where all of this happened and you engaged in saving the lives of many people. So take us back there.
Camp Fire started early morning on November 8th, and it was a rapidly developing fire that soon overtook communities. It moved from its area of origin to the town of Paradise in about 7 miles in about an hour and a half. And so many people were trapped by fire, and there were many heroic things that went on that day. I just happened to be in a position where Some ambulance crews were trying to evacuate patients that were in critical condition from Feather River Hospital, and their ambulance caught fire as it was trying to evacuate in the area that I was at. And so we were able to get the patients out, the paramedics and nurses, and shelter them in a nearby home. And basically the goal was just to defend that home from ember ignition, because the fire that we were facing was a blizzard of embers that was causing new fires across the landscape and on homes. And so the paramedics did exactly what I asked them to do, and that was to clean the roof and the gutters of all the pine needles and rake around the home, grab the garden hoses and defend the home from fire, while meanwhile the other paramedics and nurses tended to the patients.
What was going through your mind?
Well, to be honest with you, Paradise is my hometown, and it was very surreal. You know, we always knew Paradise was susceptible to fire. It's on a geographic plateau in Northern California, about an hour and a half north of Sacramento. It's in a ponderosa pine forest, a beautiful area, and it's flanked on both sides by two major drainages. Paradise had always been spared from many fires, but we knew at some point that Paradise would potentially have a significant fire. But nowhere in our minds, my mind or any of my peers and former fire chiefs, did we ever envision Paradise would be overrun by fire in its entirety. And it was just really surreal as the fire was developing. Again, embers were causing spot fires in and around homes, on homes, and catching homes on fire. And it was just progressing through the landscape. And it was just a very, very challenging and difficult situation to see. And I was amazed at the people. They maintained their composure. There was a sense of urgency in all of their faces as they were evacuated in their vehicles, and we were assisting them. But they maintained their composure, and they stayed in line and followed the vehicle in front of them out. And most of them were out of town by 1 o'clock. The remaining people we had to shelter in areas, and were ultimately able to get them out in the late afternoon. And unfortunately, 85 people did lose their lives in the campfire.
The news always focuses on when it's happening. How is Paradise now?
Well, Paradise is on the road to recovery. You know, it's been a long road, and it will continue to be a long road. This winter was a little bit of setback with cleaning up the debris. The debris cleanup is led by Cal OES and several FEMA and Cal Recycles, and they're doing a great job. They're actually ahead of schedule now, even with the setbacks that winter. And the first focus is to get debris cleanup in the lots. The next focus is to get people back in and building homes, and that's already going on. There are about 115 homes that are currently under construction, and 2 people have already taken occupancy in new homes. And there's about 700 homes that remain in the community, survived the fire out of about 11,500. Most of those 700 homes have been reoccupied. So there is great hope in the community. There's a lot of people that are very determined to see Paradise the way it was before. And I think that it will take time because we've lost a good portion of the ponderosa pine forest. But I do think Paradise will one day be a very beautiful community with modern infrastructure and modern homes nestled in Northern California foothills again.
After going through what you just went through, what is some advice that you would give to fellow fire chiefs?
Our climate has definitely changed. I was born and raised in Paradise. It's definitely different now. And correspondingly, our fire seasons and our fire behavior is so much more volatile than it ever was before. You know, fire reacts to topographic features. It reacts to fuels, which are the forest fuels that we typically think about. And those, you know, of course, the longer they're exposed to sun, hot, dry weather, the drier they become, the more volatile they become. And then when you add pressure changes in wind in there, which we often have in California, either with the Santa Anas or the north winds in Northern California, when you have those very, very strong winds, those 3 factors in alignment can be very devastating. And so for fire chiefs going forward, if you live in a fire environment or wildland fire is a threat to you or your community, I challenge you to look at these 4 things. Look at community development standards. Look at building construction standards. Make both of those resilient to fire. Your community needs to be resilient to fire and be able to withstand impacts of wildland fire, green belts, those kinds of things. Your buildings need to be able to withstand ember ignition. The number 2 thing I point to is community preparedness. Prepare your community with evacuation plans. Have the community version of the plan, have traffic plans, make them known, practice and train on those plans. The third thing is fuel reduction. We often think about defensible space in and around homes, and that is the most important thing, clearly. 100 foot of good defensible space, of reduced fuels, and that first 5 feet around the home has to be completely not fire resistive, has to not be able to sustain fire, because that's where ember ignition can be so volatile immediately in and around homes. And then the fourth thing is our fire environment, as you pointed out, has definitely changed, and we need to change as a 21st century fire service. We need to step up, and we need to change our way of doing business. We need to change some of the technology that aids us in being able to gain intelligence on what's going on the ground on a rapidly developing fire, and then also the resources, aircraft, ground resources. We all need to adapt to this changing 21st century fire environment.
Chief David Hawks, congratulations. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much. I'm honored.
In addition to having the privilege of interviewing the recipients of some of the IAFC's most prestigious awards, IAFC TV is also highlighting a few of the fire departments and organizations doing important work in the fire service today. Here's a preview of the fire department and organizations we'll be giving you a tour of today.
Being involved in the community gets our firefighters down to the street level so they understand what goes on, they understand the culture, they understand the people.
We want you to be able to come to a training, get on a prop and say, hey, I can see that happening in my town, and know how to safely handle it.
With a state as big as ours and as diverse as ours, the only way that we can accomplish our mission is through the power of partnership, whether it's a landowner, a citizen, a community, or a fire department.
We take the opportunity to actually look at our fire data in order to determine what issues that we're seeing within the county, and that's how we focus our fire safety programs.
We've developed electronic billboards, media messaging signs, Facebook targeting for geographic areas to ensure they're getting the right message at the right time so they can make the right decision.
For our first profile, we head to Texas.
The main mission of TEACS is actually pretty broad. We don't just do fire training like you're seeing behind me. We do training for law enforcement, we do business development training, we do infrastructure training. So what most people would consider public works, high line training for line workers and wastewater, utility type of training, we do that as well. We're very cutting edge in the training that we deliver. Year round, we're providing training related to leadership, basic firefighting skills, advanced firefighting skills, shipboard, aircraft, industrial, or structural firefighting. We're also home to Texas A&M Task Force 1 and Texas A&M Task Force 2. We have the largest fire school in the United States. It's the second largest one in the world. The only one larger than this is over in the Middle East in Qatar, and that one is actually managed by us. Our instructors train there, we manage that particular site as well.
TEACS is a world-known name in the emergency response training industry. We've trained in over 80 countries. This past year, we train all over the United States. We also have an extension program that goes out all over the state of Texas. We provide industrial fire training, municipal fire training, hazmat, rescue, and all leadership courses here at the facility. This past year, we trained over 116,000 students. There's no other training facility in the world that can say that they've made that type of impact. One of the big aspects of TEACS is the curriculum. We use career firefighters, people that are in the business, to be the subject matter experts to make sure that we are developing curriculum that has real-world application in it. Disaster City is 60 acres of engineered buildings and rescue props. You won't find a disaster city anywhere in the world that is more realistic than what we have here at Brayton Firefield. Our training field, it has both industrial and municipal props. We have burn buildings for interior firefighting, structural firefighting, that we do the training there. We also have industrial props. Our municipal firefighters today have more industry in their districts than they've ever had before. So it is important that they also are out here on these industrial props and learning how to handle an industrial situation safely. We're known for our fire training, but we also want to be known for all the other aspects of emergency services training that we can do. We do high angle rescue, confined space rescue, rope rescue. We also do train the FEMA teams. We do hazmat training. And then we have the EOTC, the Emergency Operations Training Center. That's where we do our higher level professional training for more of your officer level, PIO level, fire chief level.
Because my training is so diverse and well-rounded, it's brought different things back to the city, different things back to my company that I can now pass down to the firefighters that are assigned to me.
Coming to TEACS and taking these classes, it makes me a more well-rounded asset. I've been trained in all these different specialties, and so if they need somebody at the wildland station or, hazmat station, I can fill in for that.
My dad started bringing me up here in 1968. He was an instructor out here, and so this year is the 90th. I can remember all the way back to about the 39th or 38th school, and I've watched this fire school develop into this world-class operation that it is, and this annual school every year is it's a tradition.
We have an overarching goal of 300 by 30, 300,000 students by 2030. That's very attainable for us, and that's a combination of training, physical site training and then online training. But really, what we need to be known for, and I believe we already are, but we want to continue to expand that, is delivering cutting-edge training that is the highest quality. And that's what draws people back to us year after year.
We have the greatest fire training field in the world. The props are all realistic, and that's the main thing. We want realism in our training. We want you to be able to come to a training, get on a prop and say, hey, I can see that happening in my town or my facility, and know how to safely handle it.
We have a very special guest with us today. We have the IAFC Career Fire Chief of the Year, James Clack from Ankeny, Iowa. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
How does it feel to be honored as 2019?
It's a little overwhelming. It certainly is an honor and a privilege to get this award. I never expected it.
Well, looking back over your career, what are some of the accomplishments that you're most proud of?
I think they have to do with people. In Baltimore, we were able to reduce fire deaths to an all-time low by going out and aggressively doing fire prevention in people's homes. So that certainly was a big accomplishment. I think also in Baltimore, the fact that we got a foundation going again for firefighters that were hurt in the line of duty to help their families, and that was very successful. So I think the things that I'm most proud of are the things that have helped people.
And when you look back over your career, you were telling me you were the fire chief of Minneapolis and Baltimore. Who are some of the people, whether they were inside the fire service or outside the fire service, who really helped shape and mold your career?
Well, I think as far as inside the fire service, certainly Chief Brunacini, Al Brunacini from Phoenix. I'm kind of a protege of his. I followed him for years. Was a very close friend. And a lot of other fire chiefs. I'm a member of the Metropolitan Fire Chiefs, so the big city fire chiefs, and a lot of those folks have helped me over the years tremendously. Learn what it means to be a fire chief and answered questions. It's a great network.
And along those lines, what do you feel is the most effective thing to be a great leader when you're talking about the industry and being in fire services?
Well, I think to be a great leader in the fire service, you have to love this job. It has to be a vocation, not just something you get up to go to work every day. It really is a love of the job, and by extension, a love of firefighters and EMTs and paramedics, and a love of the public, loving people, trying to help people, whether it's inside the organization or the customers we serve. If you have that, I think everything follows from that. And then really having a set of values and communicating those values and not compromising them, no matter what the situation, I think is so important as well.
And this really leads into the final question, which is, for those emerging leaders, what advice would you give them?
You know, again, just love the job. Find mentors, find people that can help you. Most fire chiefs love to work with up-and-coming fire chiefs. We're going to do a class actually next month in Iowa on how to prepare for an interview to be a fire chief. Those kind of things, just taking advantage of people's experience is so important. And again, communicate your values and make sure you don't compromise them is so important. You can lose everything in just one bad decision. And so keeping that always in mind, but also, as I said, loving the people that you work with and by extension, the people we serve.
Great advice. How surprised were you when they announced your name?
I was, I couldn't believe it, actually. It was kind of surreal, so I was very, very happy for my department. It's going to be a great honor to go back to Iowa. I don't know if there's ever been a winner from the state of Iowa, and so I'm sure it's going to be a big deal for all my peers as well.
Chief James Clack, Fire Chief of the Year, Career Fire Chief of the Year. Congratulations. It was an honor to speak with Chief Clack. Congratulations again to him. In our next profile, we head to South Carolina.
Help! 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 Got you, buddy. I'm glad you guys are here.
Myrtle Beach has over 10 miles of beach, which means we have 10 miles of ocean. And with the number of visitors that we do have and our residents, we really have to provide the best public safety we can on our beaches. We are relatively a very small town with only 33,000 in our permanent population, but in the summer months we swell to over 18 million plus visitors. So having a dedicated ocean rescue team, I feel, is imperative to our public safety plan. Our police department for over 30 years was responsible for our beach and ocean safety. But as our city grew, it just did not become feasible any longer. So the decision was made to move it over to the fire department.
So as of March of 2018, we took over the full responsibility of the beach. We knew it was a large undertaking. One of our core principles is we believe we're an elite team. So there was no doubt in my mind that our department would respond to that and respond in a positive manner. So our ocean rescue team is comprised of 38 specialized individuals that respond to marine incidents.
We're one of 8 departments on the East Coast that have the USLA ART certificate. That stands for Aquatic Rescue Response Team, which again we can respond 24 hours a day, 365 days out of the year. We have 4 Colorados that have rescue boards on them. We also have 4 jet skis, 3 UTVs and 1 boat that we can utilize if needed. When the team first started, there was a big group of us that initially were eager to start this program, and it seems to be following suit with new members joining each year.
We have individuals on the apparatus working the normal shifts, but we didn't reduce any staffing or change any of our deployment models. It's all fully funded by overtime and firefighters working on their days off to provide this service to the beach.
So I'm a firefighter paramedic every 3rd day for 24 hours. And then in my time off, I work 8 hours a day on the beach. I almost think of it as 2 different jobs, but it's still gratifying that I'm helping people in the city of Myrtle Beach, our visitors, our residents, in the same capacity, but a little bit different on the beach, you know.
Our number 1 goal is to provide the safety of our residents and guests while they're on the beach, and also serve as an ambassador while we're down there. 2018 was a great year. 2,000 times we had just normal conversations with people on where to go eat, get directions, that sort of thing. About 500 times our crews down there were able to provide medical assistance, so we didn't have to send an ambulance or a first responder. And we actually had 16 confirmed rescues that summer.
Of course, it is, getting in the water and saving someone that's in trouble, but it goes beyond that, as in the educational part, letting people know how not to be in that position, talking to them about weather, talking to them about different currents, how to get out of a rip current, how to get out of longshore currents.
We have plans for hurricanes, we have plans for fires, but when people go to the beach, we don't necessarily think of having a plan for that. Where do you go if you do lose your child or you become separated? The challenge for us is that we're dealing with 18 million visitors. It's not just the 30,000+ people that live here annually. So how do you get that message to those people?
People come in on vacation and are here for a week at a time, so we get to spend a very short amount of time with them. So we've developed electronic billboards, media messaging signs, Facebook targeting for geographic areas. We're doing everything we can to specifically target the people who are here in that time frame to ensure they're getting the right message at the right time so they can make the right decision. In 2018, we had 219 missing children who were relocated with their families that day. That's a staggering number. One is far too many. So we decided to find a creative way to attract the children's eyes to a sign and also to a number so they can identify where they're at. So we visually wanted to attract their eyes to a character. Also, we wanted to put a number on there so they know where they're at. So if they do get lost, they can tell the lifeguards, they can tell our ocean rescue members, and they can tell our police department. Our Ocean Rescue Battalion Chief came up with a Know Your Avenue campaign, and this campaign is strictly to ensure that people going onto the beach are able to visually see an avenue and be able to identify it. All of the hotels look the same as you move down the beach, so it's easy to get lost. So this Know Your Avenue campaign with Sunny Swell is going to not only help our first responders, it's going to help our ocean rescue, and it's going to help our tourists and visitors that come throughout the year.
Even one drowning is one too many. But the fact that our drownings have decreased and the patrol of our beaches has increased, I think that is the best measure of success for this program.
We have an incredible future with this ocean rescue program. We're one of only a handful of fire departments on the East Coast that are accredited by the United States Life Saving Association. You know, we're fortunate to have an incredible group of employees that work here. We're supported by an incredible council, an incredible mayor, an incredible city council. We're certainly poised to continue growing in the right direction in the future.
We are joined by a very special guest, IAFC Volunteer Fire Chief of the Year, John Morrison from Vienna, Virginia. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
So tell me, what does it mean to you to be honored as 2019 Fire Chief of the Year?
It is a tremendous honor, obviously. It's very humbling. I never sort of expected this when I joined the fire department when I was 16 years old, that I'd be honored in front of sort of the titans of the fire service. So for me, it's a really special award, and I'm incredibly humbled by it.
How surprised were you when they called your name?
I think I'm a little surprised still. It's all pretty surreal. I've kind of figured out it's not a giant practical joke now, so it's incredibly surprising, and I'm sure there's, especially with tens of thousands of volunteer fire departments in this country, to be honored as Volunteer Fire Chief of the Year is really something special.
As you look over your service, what are the accomplishments that you are most proud of?
I think a lot of it is doing the international response that I've done with Fairfax County's Urban Search and Rescue Program. So being able to respond around the world in natural disasters to places like Haiti and Nepal and help out after their earthquakes there. So working with the Information Management Working Group of INSROG, the International Search and Rescue Advisory Group, and making sure that when natural disasters do happen, urban search and rescue teams from throughout the world can work together under a same information platform so we can save lives and coordination much, much faster.
That's fantastic. Now, when you look back again, who are some of the people that really influenced you, whether they were inside the fire service or outside?
So there's a lot, obviously, over 23 years. My wife is obviously, I think, number one. To be able to tell her that, hey, I'm leaving, on an hour's notice to go to a natural disaster somewhere in the world, and have that support where she's able to take care of the home front while I'm gone. She also is a volunteer at another fire department, so I say that she outranks me in life, but I outrank her in the fire department. So having her support back home is really, it's the reason I'm able to do what I do.
That's amazing. In your experience, what does it really take to be an effective leader?
I think having a group of leaders within your organization that are empowered to make decisions, but also when I sort of have an idea, them willing to talk back and say, you know what, I think this really isn't the right way, or maybe we should consider it that way. So having that two-way conversation and people being comfortable to sort of come up with their own ideas and work together under the same vision moving forward.
And what advice do you have for these emerging leaders that are coming through fire service?
So I think the big thing now is we have to train the people behind us. So you have to train your replacements. So mentoring those that are coming up, ensuring that they understand a shared vision of the organization, especially with volunteers and volunteerism on the decline, having that shared vision as an organization so that people can come forward and know what our goals are and work towards the same thing.
Chief John Morrison, IAFC Volunteer Fire Chief of the Year. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Wonderful to speak with Chief Morrison of the Vienna Fire Department. Congratulations to him for this incredible career achievement. Staying with Virginia, we now head to a nearby county to learn more about the Loudoun County Combined Fire Rescue System.
In July of 2014, the Loudoun County Board of Supervisors established the Loudoun County Combined Fire and Rescue System, which includes the Loudoun County Fire and Rescue and 15 volunteer fire and EMS companies. Loudoun County is one of the fastest growing counties in the nation and is forecasted to grow by another 14% by 2025. The county has established itself as an international center for technology, communications, and transportation. Data Center Alley is the world's largest concentration of data centers, with more than 70% of the world's internet traffic passing through Loudoun County's digital infrastructure. The Loudoun County Combined Fire and Rescue System delivers essential emergency and non-emergency fire and rescue emergency medical services from 20 stations strategically located across all 520 square miles of Loudoun County, Virginia.
The Loudoun County Combined Fire and Rescue System Special Operations Teams coordinate preparedness and emergency response for a variety of hazards. Most frequently, our Special Operations Teams respond to hazardous materials responses, swift water rescues, and technical rescues. However, with the addition of Metro Rail in Loudoun County, we developed and train regularly on our Metro Rail simulator to ensure we are prepared with the specialized skills necessary to respond safely and effectively. The Command Competency Lab provides interactive simulations of incidents through computer programs and three-dimensional modeling. The exercises take firefighters, company officers, and command officers through simulated incidents to teach them to make better decisions on the fire ground, decisions that could potentially save firefighter and civilian lives. A simulation lasts about 20 minutes with 8 to 10 people participating in any given incident. Participants playing the roles of responding fire and EMS units stage with a portable radio in the classroom. Then as dispatched, they take their assignment at the simulation workstations. After the incident is complete, all participants reconvene in the classroom to review and learn from each incident. Of the 29,000 incidents to which our Combined Fire and Rescue System members respond annually, approximately 75% of those incidents are EMS in nature.
The Loudoun County Combined Fire and Rescue System has over 670 career personnel and roughly 800 operational volunteers.
As of January 2019, the Loudoun County Department of Fire Rescue has made available to all volunteers the ability to go get an NFPA physical, which is a phenomenal health screening opportunity for all of us. Mental health in public safety, mental health concerns in public safety are really taking the spotlight now. Loudoun County has stepped out in front of everyone in the industry to include that forgotten segment, that would be the volunteer, and to allow the volunteer to get the same mental health access and EAP access that the career provider would get.
Loudoun's development of revolutionary programs such as the Factor Blood Delivery Program, our Fire and EMS Command Competency Program, and the newly launched system-wide smoke alarm program demonstrate that as a combination system, we successfully collaborated system members to bring innovation through teamwork.
Factor stands for Field Available Component Transfusion Response, which basically means we're able to bring all the components of blood, so the packed cells, the plasma, and the platelets, to a scene. In September 2017, we had a major incident involving a full-size school bus that had been converted into a food truck that hit a family of 5 broadside in their personal vehicle. So it created a very lengthy extrication, and we did a sort of game time decision on the fly to try to bring additional blood to the scene. That prompted us to say, okay, this is something we hadn't done before. How could we formalize this? It expands our capacity to deliver state-of-the-art care to our most critically injured patients at the point of injury, brings in a new capability that we've never had before, and is sort of a new model, a new paradigm in blood administration in the pre-hospital setting.
Innovation through teamwork describes the heart and core of our fire and rescue system here in Loudoun County. Working as a team, our career and volunteer system members seek new and innovative ways to provide emergency and non-emergency services. Our combined governance structure is a model for other systems to follow, using collaboration and cooperation as a core benchmark.
The responsibility of the Fire Marshal's Office is to ensure the fire and life safety of the citizens and visitors of Loudoun County. We take the opportunity to actually look at our fire data in order to determine what issues that we're seeing within the county, and that's how we focus our fire safety programs. The smoke alarm program has our personnel going out the first Saturday of every month from April to October. Smoke alarms are one of those devices that people tend to forget about because it's on their ceiling, and they don't realize that just like other appliances, they need to be replaced after 10 years. So the program helps us bring attention to that to homeowners and go into their homes and do an assessment for them. The system was able to partner with National Geographic Books and participate in their Doggy Defender series. Dolly the fire dog is one of our 3 working canines. Dolly is an accelerant detection dog, and her handler is Captain Bun Herndon, and they work together to investigate fires and make sure that they can do proper investigations. The opportunity to partner with Nat Geo really allows us to demonstrate and highlight what our Fire Marshal Office does, as well as reach a broad spectrum, because a lot of people misunderstand what we do and how we do it.
The growing resident population, an increasing number of visitors, the presence of critical infrastructure, and proximity to the nation's capital all require that the Loudoun County Combined Fire and Rescue System remain committed to providing ongoing coordinated efforts aimed at ensuring public safety and security.
Next in our profiles, we head to Louisiana and the St. George Fire Protection District, which has grown substantially over the last few decades.
The main mission of the St. George Fire Protection District is fire protection and protection of life and property from fire and medical emergencies. We started in 1967 as a volunteer department. I came actually in 1987, so I've been here a long time, but not quite from the beginning. And I've seen the department transition from a volunteer part-time paid contract to a fully career department today. We run about 9,000 calls a year. We have 205 people that work for us. We have 8 engine companies, 2 rescue engine companies, and 2 ladder companies, staffed fully with 4 people assigned every day. St. George Fire Protection District is unique because of the people that work here. The men and women that work for us are just by far the best. They're very dedicated and trained and educated, and they do a phenomenal job.
Our community involvement here at St. George goes back to our inception as an organization. About 3 or 4 years ago, we got an idea that we wanted to kind of broaden our horizon in what we do with the community, and we thought that kids was a good place to start.
We work with the community on a number of issues. Currently, we have what's called Safety Land going on for 3 weeks in the month of July. And what that is children of the ages between 7 and 9 come to us, and we've partnered with Alliance Safety Council. We partner with them for these 3 weeks out of the month of July to teach children about safety.
They learn everything from fire safety, police safety, EMS, industrial safety things. They learn about driving safety, different things like that. So it's been really a wonderful experience, and it allows the public to come in and really see what we do here. And each kid leaves here with a little backpack with the St. George Fire Protection District logo on it, and it's just a wonderful relationship.
Being involved in the community, I guess, brings us to the heart of what we do. We get to know people, we get involved with schools, we get involved with assisted living facilities, which we have quite a number of in our district. It gets our firefighters down to the street level so they understand what goes on, they understand the culture, they understand the people. And these are the people that we're sworn to protect.
The commitment for the St. George Fire Protection District to training and education is very high. We have currently 5 employees that are graduates of the National Fire Academy Executive Officer program. We have some people on staff that teach for the National Fire Academy, and we currently this week have 2 employees that are at the Fire Academy.
The unique thing about St. George is we don't just train, we educate also. To sit for promotional tests, as a minimum, our firefighters have to have an associate degree in fire science or above. So part of what we do, you know, for me, it's a trilogy: training, education, and experience. goes hand in hand with providing the best firefighters in the world.
Over the past year, we created a St. George Firefighters Foundation. So one of the things that we did this past year was we created something called the LIFT Conference, the Louisiana Instructors and Firefighters Training Conference. We hosted it here in March, and we had roughly about 275 firefighters from around the state and neighboring states as well that attended the conference. So that was one element of the foundation that we wanted to do, and the whole premise of the foundation is training and education.
Currently, we have two big projects coming up. One is we're going to ramp up from BLS to ALS service. We're starting that program this fall. We also created the Foundation for Education and Training, dealing with just not only firefighters, but the public in general. And we're working on a program to where we can have a conference center to bring things, when we talk about safety, to bring this educational thing to the public every day. Not just 3 weeks out of the year, but every day.
In the future, I see the fire department being able to provide a higher level of service to the community through more training opportunities, more educational opportunities. We're also advancing our level of care on the medical side. Because really in the fire industry, the medical side is the majority of what we do every day here. And also with the community aspect of it, with a life safety park that will be able to create a one-stop shop, if you will, for everybody to come in here in a community-style environment and really learn things that could enhance their quality of life.
We are joined by Chief Stephen Locke, the incoming treasurer for IAFC. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
So for those people who don't know, can you explain exactly what the responsibilities are of a treasurer and exactly what the job entails?
Sure. Ultimately, it's responsible for the assets of the association and making sure that they're used within the guidance and direction of the board of directors. And then we look to make sure that we're using government accounting systems that are appropriate, and then to report on those use of those funds annually to our membership. So it's ultimately just making sure that we're using our monies the appropriate method that serve our members the best way.
Now, you've served on the IAFC board for several years. How has that experience helped you with this new transitional role?
Sure. I think having the understanding of what the association does for our members and how it operates is very helpful and has prepared me for this position. Ultimately, it's different than a municipal fire department, and I think having that the understanding of how the board operates and how the association operates has prepared me for the position.
Now, Chief Carrizo and you, I understand, have been working together to make sure that this transition is seamless. Is that correct?
Absolutely, and I feel extremely fortunate to have Chief Carrizo helping me along the way. So since March, we've been kind of tag teaming this. He's showing me everything that he knows and has brought me in on all meetings. But ultimately, what I actually feel more secure about is he's coming on the board as our second vice president, and so for almost my whole term, he'll also be there. And ultimately, he cares very much about the association and is a good friend. So I think those things make me feel better, and I think will make it for a very easy transition.
Now, apart from becoming IAFC treasurer, what else are you looking forward to most this week at FRI?
Sure, it's all about fellowship. We see new friends and old friends, and we come here to learn, but also it's meeting those folks again and realizing that all around the country, fire chiefs are facing the same struggles, and getting together and talking about those certainly makes you better prepared when you go back home.
Great. Chief Locke, incoming treasurer, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Next in our profiles, we learn about a Forest Service that started the first predictive services group in the U.S.
Texas A&M Forest Service is one of only 5 state forestry agencies in the nation that's part of a land-grant university. And being part of Texas A&M, we are the service arm of the A&M University or land-grant system. And because of that, we have a duty to protect the citizens and the resources of the state, but we also do that through service. The only way that we can accomplish our mission is through the power of partnerships. We believe in partnerships and coalitions and building the capacity of others, whether it's a landowner, a citizen, a community, or a fire department. With a state as big as ours and as diverse as ours, we had to figure out a way, how do we accomplish protecting the people and the resources of this state. We do it through a tiered approach, which is called the Texas Wildfire Protection Plan. And there's really 5 stages of that. And the first one is predictive services, and very closely associated with that is planning and preparedness. And then we have mitigation and prevention. And probably the backbone of our tiered approach is capacity building. The last one is incident response.
Predictive services. We are the first predictive services group in the nation. We started back in '98. Our main task is to monitor and forecast the fire environment across the state. Forecasting and monitoring the fire environment helps our firefighters maintain situational awareness of fire potential and helps them understand what type of fire they may deal with on any given day.
Over 90% of wildfires in Texas are human-caused. Our main goal is to prevent fire occurrence and loss. The majority of wildfires in Texas are near communities, and so we work with those communities closely on mitigation and prevention programs. We do a lot of public outreach. We talk to schools, children, and adults all about ways that they can prevent wildfires from just their own homes on their own property. Simple things like debris burning, keeping your gutters clean, and just keeping your property clean from vegetation with short vegetation. Through the Texas Wildfire Risk Assessment Portal, or TexRAP, we can identify what areas have high risk to moderate risk and even low risk, and we work with them to, first of all, just even let them know what their risks are and what specific mitigation efforts they can do to reduce their risk. Not all fire is bad fire. Prescribed fire is a planned scientific approach to reduce or mitigate the effects of wildfire.
Texas is a big place, and we have 167 million acres. We have 28 million Texans, and there's only 500 TFS employees. So the only way that we can accomplish our mission is to work with others and build their capacity.
In Texas, there are over 1,800 fire departments. Over 1,500 of them are volunteer fire departments. And without question, they are the front line of defense. They are the ones that are going to arrive first. And we want them to be successful in protecting their communities, protecting their residences, and essentially lives. Our programs are designed to bolster the response capacity of fire departments in Texas. We offer the most aggressive suite of programs in the country. We have anywhere from grants for fire apparatus, equipment, training aids.
By law, through the authority of the Texas Department of Emergency Management, TDEM, the TFS is one of the state agencies that are a lead in incident response. And that requires not only responding to now, we are also part of recovery. So we go from incident response, incident management, and also recovery.
Our agency is the lead agency for the state of Texas in response to wildland fires. So it's our job to support our local fire departments and respond across the state to those incidents. We utilize our capacity building programs to increase our capabilities of our local fire departments, about 1,800 of those across the state. And we utilize a program called TIFMAS, Texas Intrastate Fire Mutual Aid System, and that allows us to move resources from non-impacted areas into other impacted areas to support and supplement state resources.
The only way that we can accomplish our mission is through the power of partnerships. We've got to build capacity and work and build coalitions and relationships every day. The bottom line of all this is a point that I've made a number of times to elected officials, is the fact that if all hell breaks loose, I want to be in Texas because we work together and we know how to handle it.
That's it for today. Thanks for watching. We'll have much more coverage from FRI 2019 here in Atlanta tomorrow, including interviews with the chair of the Terrorism and Homeland Security Committee and VCOS. See you then. IAFC TV has all the coverage you want with the big events and key newsmakers. Be sure to check out our content, which is updated each day here on YouTube from FRI here in Atlanta.